Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen. Hey, Dan, we're all thinking about having a big episode just dedicated to the music of Rob McEwen. I like Rob McEwen with the San Sebastian strings, where he's like, the sun always goes down, and that's my argument against God, the music of Rob McEwen. Good night, everybody.
Cheers, Rodney.
Yeah, I've got one in honor of Hitchens. I wasn't going to have any, but then, I thought in honor of, since Chris can't be here.
This is holy seltzer water.
It's holy seltzer water. Affidimi belli viscos belli celis oles dominos.
Everybody's drinking wine.
Are you drinking wine? You're drinking seltzer water.
Well, not everybody. I meant everybody but me.
I guess.
When I say everybody, I'm not talking about myself. Do you ever talk about yourself when you're saying everybody?
I always do.
Oh.
Yeah. Everybody includes me. I'm a body.
And then there's the opposite of that, where you say, like, where you use everybody as an example of what most people like. So you say, like, well, everybody likes, pineapples. And then you get the guy who goes, well, I don't like pineapples, or say most people like, I don't like pineapples. And I always do that when they say, it's like saying, well, most of the world's population lives in China. You go, I live in Philadelphia. It's just not.
It's like when someone says, that almost always happens. It's like, it can't be almost always. It either always happens or...
I majored in political science. I used to see these people get ripped apart. Mr. Hot, Mr. Hot.
That's a good segue into the big question of the week. Or is it? I don't know. I don't remember how I worded it, but do you believe in God or creator of some sort? Why or why not? And my answer is yes. Why? Because growing up as a kid, I had to go to church, and I learned about God and all that stuff, and it made sense. But what made the most sense, I think, was the idea of treating other people the way you want to be treated. And as I grew up, I realized that was very hard to do. And my concept of God changed and evolved over time drastically. But I feel like I've always tried to live my life by that, and I can attribute it to that. So it's not like God with a white beard pulling strings and causing hurricanes or not. It's more like what we do with it, like how we show love to people. What that's based in, if you don't believe in God and you show love to people, that's great. I'm not going to say that is anything else, but for me, the reason I do it, there's a core to it, because it's consistent for me. Even though it's evolved, there's always a consistent reminder to me, like a voice inside that's like, think about this, do this. And it's helped me fight temptation to do things that would be natural, like flip out on someone about something. But I'm able to kind of channel that, what I consider God, to me. So I believe in it because it helps me, I don't have to rely on a person. Humans aren't reliable, but having a strong faith in something helps me try to do the right thing.
Congratulations on believing in the God of the late 20th, early 21st century that is the sort of popular God out there. That's amazing how that always kinds of works out. If it had been the great Juju of the lake, you'd have been out of luck. Quick question for you, because I know very few people who believe in God. So I just want to just bounce a few questions. I'm not being mean. This is all lighthearted and everything. First of all, you believe in Zeus. Do you believe in Zeus?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. No, seriously. No, answer. Do you believe in Zeus or not?
Sure. What does that have to do with?
No, hold on. No. I get to this. Do you really? Seriously, I'm just asking. It's a valid question. Do you believe in Zeus?
I guess I've said yes twice, so now I'll say no.
Okay. Well, no, I don't know. So you said you believed in God, but now you believe in Zeus. The two things seem kind of two different things.
And this is what I'm talking about. My concept of God is not what your concept of God, which is not a concept to you.
Okay, I'm bringing it up because as an atheist, I always get like, when I talk
you
to
immediately
people,
labeled the God I believe in as the late 20th century. Like, what the fuck?
well, it is kind of, well, he doesn't exist before. He exists. People only start talking about like a fuzzy, friendly, maybe he's doing this or that thing in the late 20th century. If you go back to the 1950s, nobody's really talking like that. God is, kind of a fairly angry person. You go back even further than that he is. So I'm not being mean. I'm just, these are valid questions, I think.
No,
and
I
think
know you're not being mean, but we're using a word that conveniently has other connotations to it. But it's hard to put. That's why I said.
Okay, but you can see where I'm coming from, right? You can see why I would ask that question, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not closed to saying nothing else exists. I'm saying something God, creator, created us to love each other, and we choose what to do with that. And does that mean that evolution doesn't exist? Does that mean no other gods exist or any other? No, I'm not saying that.
Okay,
so like something created this universe, so whatever did may have created those things as well.
Well, I don't necessarily know something created this universe. I think it's, and I can explain the event, the singularity, if we've all got 2 hours for a science lesson. But basically, the conditions in the singularity would have been the same as the conditions in a black hole. Within a black hole, matter and antimatter pop in and out of existence all the time. You would just need a little bit more matter than antimatter, and that would kick off the singularity. This can go on for a long time because within the singularity, there was no time. Sorry, just that for our physics friends.
Cool, because I didn't get one.
I wanted to be a theoretical physicist. All right, no, it was a valid question, Dan. I didn't mean, I hope I didn't come off as mean.
I get it now. From where you're coming from, I get that.
Yeah, I didn't come off as mean. I always kind of wonder because I always have these people would say like, well, you don't believe in God. And I say, well, you don't believe in Ra, or you don't believe in, because they always believe in the popular God, and you don't believe in Ra, you don't believe in.
Well, that's what I was trying to preface what I was saying, but that's not like that's what I was raised with as a child, and I'm 43. Like it's evolved over time, so I know what you're saying. I get that. I'm not one of the people that says like I believe in this, so the other things don't exist, or I believe in this, so what you believe in is wrong. Because as I grew up, I studied world religions in college, and I learned, wow, these all basically have the same idea. And I don't follow any dogma. I don't belong to any religion. Like, I just try to follow what my heart says, and that's to like try to be kind to people. And the reason I didn't want this to turn into a proof of whether God.
No, I don't either. But I'm just curious, and I
think everybody believes in something, and I'm curious why. And I think everybody has, like, no two people have the same exact concept of God or lack of God.
If you spend 10 minutes as an atheist, you will get the weirdest questions thrown at you.
You know about deism? Like the founding fathers were like deists. Where
George Washington was not a believer in the divinity of Christ. They used to jump on him for that. James Madison.
They don't believe in miracles. And
I like to think they would have been. They would have been atheists had they been lived a little bit later. But that's a whole nother conversation. But because it really wasn't that option totally available, because we don't know all the things back then that we do now. So, but deism. Occasionally you will meet the person. I carry around in my wallet the little thing from the Treaty of Tripoli. It says America is not a Christian country, because you always get these people like, our founding fathers used the word Jesus 7,000 times a day.
There's kind of not. It's not the opposite, but there's a version of that kind of that's like Christian atheists, which are like, they believe that like God created the world, and when Jesus came and died, like God died, and we're all just on our own now. I tried to look up stuff, and I couldn't find much. I found somebody like railing against it, but
my problem with anything like that is I try to be nice about it, but I always think that it is an irrational belief. And I think that when you have an irrational belief, it kind of gives other people a little leg room for irrational belief. So if you say, well, I believe there's a God, somebody else gets to say, well, I believe there's a God too, and he told me to blow up this building. I don't know if it's, and I'm just putting out there, I don't know if injecting irrationalism into a society is, but I hope I didn't come off as abrupt or rude or anything. I was just, I thought, it'd be super friendly and we'd all be laughing by now.
All right, are you through?
I never through. You should know that by now. I spent day and night just reading and devouring stuff just to have these conversations. All right, Dean, what do you say?
No, I want to make sure Dan is done.
No. Well, I mean,
Okay. Okay, well, I may probably step on Rodney's toes just a little bit. The short answer to Dan's question is no, I do not believe in God. Okay, and one of the books I recommend that everyone read is called God is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens. It is amazing. The subtitle is How Religion Poisons Everything. It is a very good read. I bought this many years ago.
Synchronized reading.
Right. I'll provide a link to a debate that you can. I mean, there's many debates with Christopher Hitchens on YouTube with various religious scholars, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and various other things. But one that I'll link, we can link to, is titled "Does God Exist?" It's a debate between William Lane Craig, who is a Christian apologist, which I thought was very interesting, versus Christopher Hitchens. And I'm going to attempt to paraphrase one of Hitchens' comments during his speaking time. I think they traded off maybe 2 or 3 times. I didn't watch the whole thing. I've seen some of this before. But I'll paraphrase some of his statement. And he said, let's assume that man has existed for, say, like 100,000 years. I mean, he even says, you know, certain scientists debate that number, but just for sake of argument, let's say 100,000 years. And these people, you know, on Earth lived and they died, and they probably died very young because they didn't have medicines. They didn't know what germs and things were. They were probably afraid of lots of the natural world, like volcanoes and earthquakes. And why is this happening to us? And, you know, they don't really know. And yet, according to Christians, God only decided to do anything about all this about a little over 2,000 years ago. And he said, why don't we torture somebody in Bronze Age Palestine? That should teach them. So, I mean, there you go. There's one argument that convinces me.
He doesn't choose China, where they have block printing. He doesn't choose ancient Greece, where they have geometry. I mean, they even get within the Bible, they even get the circumference wrong of a circle. I mean, it's like he could have picked somewhere else.
Right. So to me, religion is man-made wishful thinking. And another interesting book that I'll recommend, and I'll provide links that you can check it out. It's called From Primitives to Zen. It's by a scholar named Mircea Eliade. He's a Romanian. I didn't know much about him. I did look him up today. He is a little bit controversial. Some of his past might be a little bit out of line. But this book is mostly an academic read. It's a comparative religious history. And the thing about it is I read it like 30 years ago. It's been out since the late 70s. And you'll find common themes. And Dan, I think you touched on this, and maybe Rodney did. I mean, you'll find common themes and stories between all the religions out there. It's just a very interesting thing to point out. Oh, this comes from there. No, it's also over here. And this, the golden rule, which you meant, be kind to others. And I mean, that's in Jewish faith. It's in Islam. It's everywhere. So it's not original to Christianity for sure. So anyway, so yeah, my short answer is no, and my long-winded blah 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 was just there.
Fun to see people when they first read the Epic of Gilgamesh and like, wait a minute, this is the flood from the Bible, but with different people. Yeah, it is, and it's odd too, because I've noticed that like a lot of my fellow atheists are the people who have read the Bible more than a lot of people who actually believe. I've probably read the Bible 10, 15 times because I'm interested in literature, and to understand Western literature, you need to read the Bible. I mean, you also need to read, the Odyssey and the Iliad, but you don't see me running around again, praying to the gods of ancient Greece. Although Hephaestus, pretty cool. I do not believe in God for the same reason, and I hope I don't upset people when I say this, but I don't care. Same reason I don't believe in the Easter Bunny. We've got St. Patrick's Day coming up. I don't believe in leprechauns, and somebody say, well, look at the smile on a child. How could you not believe in leprechauns? Or leprechauns have helped me so much in my life. I don't care if it helps people. If it's a lie, it doesn't help you in the end. For me, with God, the problem is there's not enough evidence for it. And if you're going to make the claim, the more bold the claim, the more bold the evidence should be. And the thing is, I know we're not talking about evidence, but this is part of it. And the thing is, if you're going to say there's a being above us that does all this, you're going to need to show me something. And to me, the evidence against God, the existence of a God, is much greater. For example, and this is the big one, the universe behaves exactly like you think it would if there was no God. In other words, in my mind, if there was a God, planets would be appearing left and right. I wouldn't need organs. I'd just be filled with the Holy Spirit. With a God, with no God, it explains why, we get these beautiful sunrises, but we also have children starving and dropping dead. There's no God there. And that, to me, is the big thing. And what I used to always get bothered by was the sort of weak arguments I would get for God. And I noticed a lot of religious people hadn't thought these out. And I say religious, but I think superstitious should be the word, because you believe in something with no natural explanation. And so I think superstitious might make people on more of an even plane, whereas religion, if you say someone's religious, there's a sense of piety to that. But superstitious kind of evens things out. I can say I'm not superstitious. But the thing is, people would say, well, you don't believe in God. Well, what's going to happen to you when you die? And I said, well, let's say there is a God. And I get up there and God says, why didn't you believe in me? And I say, well, not enough evidence for you, too much evidence to the contrary. A scientist God, a God who made everything in existence, a God who made black holes and quasars and gamma rays, that God would likely to say, you know what? That's a pretty good argument. Welcome in. People who believe in God, you're screwed, because the odds of you getting the right God, out of 3,000 gods, what if you really believe in God? You go to church every Sunday and you get up there and it's Baal, B-A-L-L. Remember him from the Bible? God's old dueling buddy. Yeah. What if it's him? And he's like, why didn't you? I gave you all the clues that it wasn't the other guy. Look at Pat Robertson. All right. Remember when Kirk Cameron went on TV with Ray Comfort and they had the banana, and the banana was proof of God? I remember sitting there watching it like, I have to argue against people like this in public spaces that believe that stuff. And it could be Asherah. I don't know if you guys want to tell, because I told a lot of stuff here. You guys want to tell the folks at home who Asherah is?
God's wife.
God's wife. That is correct. God had a wife, probably the messiest divorce ever. And what if it's Asherah? And she says, you should have believed in me and you didn't, and I cast you out. The other thing that people always tell me is, well, you won't go to heaven. You won't. Here's a little thought about heaven that never seems to cross the minds of people who actually believe that there's going to be one. You go to heaven, all right? You're there for eternity. Now, even the slowest person, even Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron, after, let's say, 10,000 years, no, with those guys, let's make it more, 20,000 years, are going to start to think, wait a minute, how do I know this is really heaven? How do I not know that this is some simulation that the devil created, and then he is going to pop out at some point, 1,000,000 years from now, and say, ha, 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 I got you, and the rest of the time you burn in flames. Imagine existing for eternity with that thought in the back of your head. And if there is a heaven and any of you are headed there, you're going to have that in the back of your head now. So there's just so much evidence against it. I'm going to give you, though, the definitive evidence against the existence of God. We will now put up a picture of Florida Representative Joe Harding. Have that up there. Just look at this motherfucker. I mean, he really believes he's the guy who introduced the bill in Florida, so you can't mention being gay in school. And to tell you the truth, if I look like this guy, I wouldn't want people talking about sex either, because he looks like the Frankenstein's monster fucked a pig, or an empty box of shoes or something. So I'm just saying that no, I do not believe, and I think I'm a good person. I cry at sad movies. I'm moved by Hallmark cards. I'm a good friend to people, and I do that all without God over my head. So and again, just to prove it, let me say, I dare you to smite me, you celestial wimp. Still here. All right, thank you.
I think I've mentioned this before. Did I ever tell you what my version of hell would be?
No, I'm dying to hear it.
I would be forced for eternity to play drums in a blues band.
Oh.
I have a quick question, Rodney.
Yeah.
Well, quick question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
When you learn something, like when you learn about like other planets and stuff, like how do you find evidence for that?
So you're telling me there's no evidence of other planets?
I didn't say that.
Where do you get your evidence for it?
Well, we have
pictures of other planets. We see things that are moved by gravity. We have, are you saying I shouldn't trust scientists?
No, you can watch this later and see what I asked you. I didn't ask you that.
Okay, well, that's generally where I get let's just say NASA. I get it from NASA and Larry on the corner, who knows a lot about planets.
You put your faith in NASA. Like everybody has.
No, that's different than because that is actually something that can be backed up with examples.
But what is backed up?
Faith is belief in something despite lack of evidence or evidence to the contrary. That's faith. So I have no
visual evidence. It has to be visual.
No. Faith is belief in something despite lack of evidence. So I believe mankind is good despite evidence to the contrary and lack of evidence. That's faith. I have faith in mankind. See, so I'm not faithless. But if you're going to tell me something extraordinary, like, hey, this planet is out there, it's a third planet, then I need to see some gravitational fluctuation, and that's what I do. So I clearly know those pictures are from Mars because I've seen people work on the Martian rover.
What do you think about the beginning of where the planets came from? Like, where did all that, where we came from?
I explain where you are. You talking cosmology or biology? I'm confused here.
No, I just mean as far as how everything started.
Okay, everything started at the Singularity. Again, there's no time.
I don't know what this
now imagine yourself, hold on, you're standing on Second and Broad. Okay?
I'll watch this later and listen to that and play it slower because I didn't understand it. But
okay, again, within the Singularity, which is like a black hole. Okay, you do understand that matter pops and antimatter pop in now of existence all the time, right? On a subatomic level.
I mean, you're telling me that, so I guess.
Okay, well, you're going to have to take my word for it.
Right? Okay, I won't look for the evidence. Go ahead. Sorry. Are you done?
Are you going to whip out a banana and have Ray Comfort come in?
No, but I am kind of hungry. I have some bananas downstairs. Yeah. Maybe I'll get Kirk to bring one up. Hey, I don't want to be left behind, Kirk. So banana left. I just want to throw in what I believe. Like I said, I believe God is love. Like a combined, if everybody were to actually show each other love, maybe that's how we would actually see God.
That's what Stephen Colbert explains.
God hates bleep or whatever. People that promote, I'm going to blow up a building because God told me to. That's what I consider God is about love and acceptance and grace. Not but showing grace to people. When you've never received it, you give it to someone else. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry. Joe hasn't said one word.
Joe has the last word.
John Lennon once sang that God is a concept by which we measure our pain. And that's in the song God. I get the fact that God is a concept. I'm not sure about measuring pain, maybe measuring comfort, but I think of God as a concept, which evolves and changes and will continue to change. And I guess your question is, do I believe in that concept? Yes or no? I don't have any proof one way or the other. I don't think science, like Rodney said, science hasn't yet proven the existence of a God, nor has it disproven that there is a higher, that it hasn't come up with the, well, Rodney says there's a singularity. That's what we're talking about, the Big Bang, I guess.
Well, you can't say they haven't proven or disproven. That's I don't want to shut that down, but that is bad logic. It's like saying, it's like calling up the cops and going, well, I think my neighbor killed John Benet Ramsey. And then they say, well, why do you think that? I go, well, I don't know, he didn't. And then they come, they round him up. Yeah, they take him downtown, they put him on trial. Yeah, the prosecutor stands up and he goes, look, we don't know he didn't kill John Benet Ramsey. And then the defense stands up and goes, well, I can't argue with that. So, no, the idea is you can't, the whole not proving.
Well, science is evolving and we're continuing to learn about things.
Yes.
And I find comfort because Dan, I was raised in a Christian family, and I understand how that concept can be comfortable. But do I really in my heart, I don't have people who have faith, like Rodney said, believe things without evidence. I'm kind of on the agnostic front, I think, as far as
good slipping that in there, Joe.
My belief in a higher creator. I don't believe it is a person like a he or like us. But I don't know. It's an interesting thing to thought experiment. After reading that book about mushrooms called Entangled Life, I almost would think that maybe the creator is the earth itself. That and from what we came out with, but then what created the earth? Also, like if there is a God, then what created that God? That's another
complex
argument.
God, yeah. If something that's complex can only be created by a creator, then God would be the most complex thing. So there would have to be somebody who created God, probably Charles Nelson Riley.
Right, and then there could be a myriad of gods in the wider universe of universes. Who knows? So yeah, I don't know. Can my answer?
I like the honesty of I just don't know.
I just don't know.
I wonder if more agnostics would just take the step into being atheists if we didn't treat atheists so roughly in this country. I hold office in Pennsylvania. Legally, I cannot, as an atheist, hold office in Pennsylvania. They held a poll years ago, and atheists, they asked find the most hated group in America. Atheists came out on the bottom as the most hated group behind Muslim terrorists and pedophiles, which means I have to get on the phone and call like a terrorist and go, who's your PR guy? Because we're not doing, it is really, really rough. Julia Sweeney's Letting Go of God is a fantastic thing. And which she says, she explains to her mom, well, I'm an atheist now. And her mom says, I don't mind you not believing in God, but do you have to be an atheist?
Where do Satanists fall in that?
The temple of the Satanic Temple are really atheists. But the thing is, people were getting our country has started to move towards being a theocracy. People were getting nowhere with regular tactics fighting that. So they said, okay, Satanic Temple said, okay, if you have to put up a 10 Commandments, and I'll put up a link to Christopher Hitchens talking about the 10 Commandments. You got to put up the 10 Commandments. We want our statue up. And that's kind of having fun with basically somebody created a fun form of atheism. So it's funny.
One of the things in that interview or that debate that I mentioned earlier, Hitchens said that he wondered whether us atheists actually need the word atheist because it's harmful to what we believe, because he said, well, I don't believe in Tooth Fairy or Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. You don't call people that don't believe in that, a tooth fairyists or a.
That's what I tell people. There's no word for people who don't believe that Elvis is alive and riding on the Loch Ness Monster. But yet, if you don't, and I don't have to explain that. If somebody comes to me and says, I believe, you don't believe Elvis is alive. But if I say I don't believe in God, I get 5,000 questions about why I don't. And it's always that specific as somebody once said to me when I said, about the, I said, you don't believe in Zeus or, and not talking about you, Dan, somebody else. And I said, you don't believe in Zeus or Ra. And I said, no, the real God, the one in the Bible. So
Well, you know what? Let me just put it this way.
Yeah.
None of us asked to be here. And then we're forced to go through it every fucking day trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Everybody at some point has to come up with some idea of why the hell we're here, because nobody ever is going to know. Nobody has ever known. Nobody's ever going to know. I love that. And so I make up my own thing because there's no way I could adhere to any other thing. I don't know. I know what I feel. So.
You be you.
Yeah, and that may change. You may find yourself on my side of the fence someday.
It has changed. I think there's always a core to it, but it's definitely changed for me.
Please don't find yourself hanging out with Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron, waving the banana around. That's all I ask. I hope this went well and we're all still friends now, because I think it was.
Yeah.
I hate you guys. You disgust me.
I thank God for you guys.
Are we done? Are we moving on to recommendations?
Oh, yeah.
I'm done.
That was really good. I really enjoyed that.
And go to church. No, I thought about this so much, and I didn't even say half the stuff I thought about, and I didn't even think of a recommendation. But let me.
Okay.
You know what? This book.
God will provide you with something.
You guys
Oh,
remember this book?
yeah.
Somebody, the author of the book, sent us copies of them signed.
Ooh, I have a copy. Yes.
Oh, we
I
got
think
three copies.
The only story I read really was the one where somebody dosed the entire crew of or not the entire crew, a portion of the crew of the Titanic movie.
Yes.
It's a really funny story. It's it's kind of disturbing too. But if you don't really have a high opinion of someone like James Cameron, you probably like this because he like trips balls and he doesn't know what's happening. But
that is the worst movie to dose people on, because like Seabiscuit, you're around a horse, you're out in the open. But Titanic is all about death.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. No, it's Titanic.
I've never actually seen Titanic, which is a whole other,
Well, the ship sinks at the end.
I don't think it exists. I need to see proof.
Spoilers, it sinks.
Wait, that wasn't evidence? I thought that was a documentary. All right, that's my recommendation.
My recommendation, other than the two books that I mentioned earlier, which we'll provide links for, is a YouTube video from a channel that I follow called Stuff Made Here. He only posts maybe once every month or two because his videos are very in-depth. They're about half an hour long. He's an engineer and he makes the most ridiculous inventions. The latest one is called Robot Disc Launcher versus Speed Record. If I've never played it, but I know people that do. There's a game called Disc Golf, which you throw a frisbee-like device, a disc, in a manner that's similar to playing golf, where you play holes and you have to get it into a basket. Anyway, this guy plays it and he was researching, and the fastest a human threw one of these discs, I think, is just a little over 85 miles an hour, which is pretty incredible. So he decided that he wanted to break that record by building a robotic arm that would strap to his arm and fling the disc faster than that. You'll have to watch the video to see what all happened, but I recommend you check it out. And his channel is hilarious. He's got lots of videos. I think he even mentioned his channel before on this program. Anyway, those are my recommendations.
Back in the
goes right away to like weapon. A sharp disc.
Oh yeah.
Back in the 70s, this is another thing that I know, because God gives me knowledge directly. Back in the 70s, God really seems to like give the atheist guy a bunch of stuff. Back in the 70s, the army actually spent a lot of money testing to see if a frisbee could be used as a weapon on the battlefield.
Hey, you remember Odd Job from the?
Odd Job. Yeah, they filmed it with helicopters and everything. Yeah. Okay, so recommendations. As was recommended before, Christopher Hitchens, God is Not Great. This is not, I do have a signed copy. This is not my signed copy. My signed copy does not live in the house. It lives in a very safe location. You can borrow this one, but if you touch my signed copy, you will find out whether there's a hell or not. Next up is Forerunners and Rivals of Christianity. This is, if you can see, this is very old, but this is one of the real gems of, I have a whole religion collection in my library, and this is one of the real gems of it, and I'm glad I own an older copy. You can probably still get newer copies. The great thing is the Gnostics are in here, and you find out really weird stuff, like the fact that, the Gnostics didn't think that Jesus was a material being. He was almost like something from a sci-fi movie, like pure energy from another realm. And they said, don't trust the God of the Old Testament. He's nuts. Which is, if you think about what happened with the Edomites, this is my one question about religion. God said, when he said, kill the Edomites, he said, kill all the men and the older women and the boys, but spare any girl who has not yet known a man. I'm thinking, how did they determine that? How did they? And the final thing I always talk to people about, is what if you really, really believed in God and you believed in the God of the Old Testament and you decided to live your life that way? Please check out this book, The Year of Living Biblically. This is from, everybody's cracking up, so Dan may have read it, I don't know. This is from the guy who wrote The Know-It-All, which is about his attempts to get on Jeopardy, which I've been trying to do forever. But he decided that he was Jewish in the way that Olive Garden was an Italian restaurant. And he said, what if I decide to live according to the Old Testament? At one point, he goes to a children's birthday party. There's a magician, and he thinks, technically I have to kill the magician. This is a really, really fun read. And, you know, I always say to people go, I believe in God. Like, if you were really hardcore about it, you'd be in a cave somewhere. Like,
that's why I was laughing, because that's what I imagine the book is. And there's some weird ass shit in that book.
There is.
Bible.
Yeah, there's tons of weird shit. Like I say, I mentioned it the other week when we were talking about Lilith, and I said, there's two different creation stories. So the people who say that it's the unerring word of God never made it out of the first chapter. This is a really, really fun read, and it's I really love this. So all right, so that's my recommendations for this week.
I have one recommendation, and it's for a table spice called. You know this one, Saint Lucifer. It's very. It'll give a kick to anything you put it on. It's jalapeno salt, basically, and it's made in the fair city of Philadelphia in small batches. It's really tasty. I put it on egg sandwiches in the morning. It's also great on hamburgers and stuff like that.
Is it a powder or a sauce?
It's a salt. It's basically a jalapeno salt with a little bit of garlic and some other flavors.
You know what would be good to do? If you went to take communion, when they give you a wafer, put a little of that on it.
Oh, yeah. It'll spice up anything.
Did you have to order that, Joe, or where can I get a copy? Where can I get a bottle of that?
It's available at all the Bruno's locations.
Oh, okay.
It's available online. You can order it online.
Okay.
Satan just sends it to Joe directly.